So when Nintendo announced the Switch 2, they also gave us a list of Switch 1 games that would be getting free updates that would enhance the gameplay experience on the Nintendo Switch 2 system. But they didn't give us many details as to what those updates would be. Fast forward to the 15th of May 2025 and Nintendo updated their website and gave us some more details as to what the updates for each of the Switch 1 games that would be getting these free updates would entail. So in this video, we're going to look at the Switch 1 games that are getting these free updates and what those updates actually include. So let's get straight into it. So if we start with ARMS, the updates include visuals, so optimized for Nintendo Switch 2 display and high resolution TVs for improved image quality. So immediately I'm thinking for ARMS, it was 1080p on the Switch, 720p in handheld mode. So for handheld mode, you're going to get a bump up to 1080p to fit the display there. And then in docked mode, you're going to get at a minimum, I would suspect, 1440p resolution, maybe even 4K with upscaling via DLSS. So that would be interesting to see. Frame rate for ARMS, again, I think that was 60 for the most part, but if I remember correctly, when you were playing with, as it says here, 3 or more players, it cut the frame rate in half, obviously to be able to maintain the performance. So for Switch 2, I think 60 across the board, 1080p 60 in handheld, and 1440p up to 4K 60 in docked mode, even with 3 or more players. So that is a good improvement. So hopefully that's what we're getting. And lastly, HDR support. So again, on that lovely Switch 2 screen, everything we've seen about it looks amazing. Yes, it is an LCD screen, but the tech has improved significantly compared to the terrible screen that was on the OG Switch 1. So yeah, HDR support in handheld mode and on the television. If you've got a television that supports HDR, that will look really nice for ARMS. So that's some nice updates, I think. And again, all of these are free if you own the game. Moving on to Big Brain Academy, Brain versus Brain. So the only update is for game share. So up to 4 people can play in party mode, and you can share locally or share online via game chat. Moving on to Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. So updates again include visuals optimized for Switch 2 display and high resolution TVs for improved image quality and HDR support. So again, I'm not sure what the resolution was on the Switch for Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, but for Switch 2, I'm expecting 1080p 60 with HDR in handheld mode and 1440p up to 4K 60 with HDR in docked mode. So again, good visual improvement, and you also get game share support. So 2 people can play all of the courses, and you can share locally or share online via game chat. So they really are pushing game share into a lot of these games, which I think is a good thing. Next up is Clubhouse Games, 51 worldwide classics. Again, the only update for this is game share support. Up to 4 people can play 34 games, and you can share locally and share online via game chat. Next up is Game Builder Garage. So again, visuals optimized for Nintendo Switch 2 display and high resolution TVs, and supports Joy-Con 2 mouse controls. Now that is a good update. I think that would be very handy for people who want to try out the mouse controls on the Switch 2, and that should make it should make it a bit easier than, say, maybe using your finger on the screen or the controller. I think the original game did support mouse on the Switch 1. Obviously you had to plug in USB 1, but yeah, having that built into the Joy-Con 2 and having that support, I think would be quite good. So that might be interesting. That might be a good video to do, actually showcasing the mouse controls for Game Builder Garage. So I might look into that as well. And next up is New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. That name still just gets me every time. So basic updates on here. Visuals optimized for Nintendo Switch 2 display and high resolution TVs. So nothing about frame rate on this one. So I'm assuming this could be one of these games that might have an unlocked frame rate, so it will just naturally perform better on the Switch 2. I can't confirm that, but I'm assuming if it's not mentioned here, that it's probably just built into the game. So therefore, it will just run at a stable frame rate if it's uncapped or unlocked. So that'd be something to check out. And then let the controversy begin with Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. I still have not played these games. They've been on my list to do, but I just have not played these games. I've been playing other games, but all the discourse online is summed up in it looks terrible, but the gameplay is top tier. So I think this is going to be a welcome update for lots of people, especially big Pokemon fans. So I might actually check these out on the Switch 2 and just never see the visuals on the Switch 1. So image quality, I'm expecting at a bare minimum 1080p 60 handheld, 1440p 60 docked mode. I doubt Game Freak is going to go up to 4K with this. It's probably not going to happen at all. So I definitely will be checking Pokemon Scarlet and Violet out on the Nintendo Switch 2 with these free game updates. Next up is Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. We have got visuals again. So again, 1080p handheld 60, 1440p up to 4K, possibly 60 in TV mode. That will look good. HDR on this I think will look amazing, especially for Bowser's Fury, because there's so much color and vibrancy in that add-on for this game, so that will look amazing I think in HDR. And then frame rate again, stable 60 across the board I think, so that would be really nice. And then game share support, so up to 4 people can play Super Mario 3D World. That's great. In Bowser's Fury, 2 people can play together with one player controlling Mario and the other controlling Bowser Jr. Really good. And the awesome Mario game, Super Mario Odyssey, fantastic game. I think that was 1080p 60 on the Switch docked anyway, 720p 60 handheld mode. So again, bump up to 1080p 60 in handheld mode and HDR. That's going to look amazing. That is going to look absolutely amazing. And then docked, could we be getting up to 4K 60? That would be pretty impressive. And then game share support, 2 people can play together with one player controlling Mario and the other player controlling Cappy. That's really cool actually. That would be great. I could see myself playing that with like my younger nephews or kids or something like that. That would be pretty cool. That's a nice feature. And then the 2 Legend of Zelda games, the top-down ones for Switch. Now, I haven't played Link's Awakening yet, but I did play Echoes of Wisdom, loved it, but my goodness me, that struggled in the overworld at times, and the frame pacing on that was so uneven at times. So this is definitely one game, and I suspect Link's Awakening is going to have the same issue because it has the same visual style, and I think it was the same team that made it. So visual upgrade on this, I am all for it, absolutely for it. And HDR support will look amazing. Those colors are going to absolutely pop. No mention of frame rate. So again, I think these are games that are natively uncapped with the frame rate, so they should automatically just perform better on the Switch 2. So I suspect they'll get to 60 and just sit at 60. So that's good. So the fact they haven't put it here, let us take the assumption that these games are uncapped when it comes to frame rate and will just perform better. So, and yeah, that is the list of Nintendo Switch 1 games that will be getting updates for performance, visual enhancement, and adding features like game share for the Nintendo Switch 2. So yeah, I think that's a good list all around. It's nice that Nintendo's giving us more details as to what the updates will actually be. And as I said, these are free updates for these games to allow you to just play them, on the more powerful system in better performance. So this to me is a win all around. I'm hoping that this list will expand as time goes on, because there are a whole bunch of games that could benefit from this treatment. Just off the top of my head, all of the Xenoblade games on the Switch 1 could benefit from this. My goodness me, like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is beautiful as it is on the Switch, but my goodness me, if we can get that at a solid 1080p 60 handheld with HDR support and 1440p, maybe up to 4K with HDR and 60 frames per second in docked on the Switch 2, I will die and go to literal Xenoblade heaven. My goodness me, that game will look amazing. So Monolith stuff, please, whatever you're cooking, please, free Nintendo Switch updates for all of your Xenoblade games on the Switch 1. Another game, or my favorite Nintendo Switch 2 game, my favorite Nintendo Switch game, should I say, Astral Chain. Oh my god, please, Nintendo, I don't know what you're doing. My goodness me. Please, Astral Chain, 1440p, up to 4K, docked mode, 60 FPS or 1080p, 60 FPS with HDR across the board. Do that for Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch 2, I will it into existence. I love that game, and it could definitely use some of these enhancements. Zelda, Age of Calamity, yeah, that could definitely do with some serious enhancements for Switch 2. So there's a whole bunch of games. Bayonetta 3, that could benefit for some Switch 2 enhancements. Definitely sharper visuals, frame rate, and HDR support, and that would be quite good. And hopefully third parties might also do, you know, some updates as well. Look at Hogwarts Legacy has done well, it's not free unfortunately. Hogwarts Legacy is I think it's a £10 upgrade if you already own the game on the Switch 1, but the visuals are vastly improved. So yes. Anyway, so yeah, that is the free updates for Nintendo Switch 1 games for the Nintendo Switch 2. So that I think is a good list. I think there's some good updates. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about these updates. So as always, thank you for watching. Please smash that like button, subscribe if you're somebody new. And as always, I will see you lovely people on the next one. Cheers.